Almost 15 years in France, twin babies under 2 with another one on the way, and French bureaucracy that says your paperwork wasn't stamped in time. My friend and fellow American Celeste has stories. And despite all the typical hurdles that we hear about when moving to France, the bureaucratic maze, the social barriers, the professional challenges, Celeste has not only navigated them all, but built a thriving life here. Celeste opened up her home to me for a wide-ranging conversation about our somewhat similar, somewhat different experiences as Americans living here in France. Like me, Celeste learned French at school in the US, is married to a Frenchman, and teaches English here in France. But she works with young children and has amazing insights about language learning that could also apply to adult learners as well. After living in Dijon for 5 years, the city that I've lived in since 2008, she now lives in a village about 20 minutes south of Dijon. In this conversation, we dive deep into the real experiences of American expat life here in France. We talk about French bureaucracy.
I did all the paperwork, sent it in, waited. It came back and said denied. I thought, oh, great.
Cultural adjustments, what it's really like being married to French spouses, and making friends with French people. And since Celeste is in the throes of early childhood parenting, I thought it would be fascinating to get her reaction to several passages from this book, Bringing Up Bébé by Pamela Druckerman, in which she talks about her experience as an American woman raising children here in France. And like many of my friends here in France, and like my husband and myself, Celeste and her husband Nico run a short-term rental right on their property. So she's going to talk about that experience as well. But before we dive in, I just wanted to mention that you can scan the QR code right here if you'd like, or click on the link in the video description below if you would like to sign up to my email list, which will provide you with more practical information about life in France delivered directly to your email inbox. Without further ado, let's get to our conversation with Celeste. Just to give you a little background, Celeste arrived here in France shortly after graduating from college in 2011. And to start, I asked her what her French level was like when she first arrived.
I wanted to be a French teacher in the States, and so my French level was okay. I passed the exams to become a French teacher, so it was good, I would say. In my mind, I thought it was great at the time. And then when you move to a new country, you realize quickly that you can't understand anybody because you've been learning in a classroom the whole time. So my comprehension, I think, was not as great as my speaking or writing or reading. And people speak fast, and there's expressions, and there's like slang that people use. So I had to get used to that. My level to communicate was good, but of course you learn so much more living in the country and being immersed. So I felt like my fluency, my pronunciation, and vocabulary improved, not so much like my grammar or base level. It was good to begin with.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long would you say that those improvements took?
Well,
I hope you have a guest.
it is scrolling down. Well, my husband doesn't speak English. So right off the bat, I was forced to only communicate in French, which really helped the fluency and my pronunciation, because otherwise, well, he couldn't understand what I was saying. And so I think that took to like really perfect it, you mean? I feel like you're still perfecting it.
Yeah.
Like I never feel like I'm 100% fluent.
Okay.
Even though I know I am,
Yeah.
I just
Do you think the progress was faster at first?
Yeah.
And it slowed down?
Yeah, it slowed down over the years. And at this point, I don't know how I can progress anymore except pronunciation. But I learned French too late in my life to get the sounds perfect that it's kind of a lost cause. And I'm okay with sounding how I sound in French.
Yeah.
Because
yes, in the same situation.
People understand me. It's just that it's always a conversation starter of, oh, you have an accent. And I say, yeah, I have an accent. And that's been, 10 years that people have been saying, oh, you have an accent. And I have to say the same thing over and over, like about my story. Because then,
They want to know where you're from.
They want to know. And then they say, wow, your French is so good. And you say, oh, thank you. But you have an accent. I know.
Been there.
Then I asked her what her biggest challenges were when it came to learning French.
Pronunciation and grammar. I actually wanted to quit French when I was in high school because I, for the first time in my life, got a C. And I was not good. I didn't get it. I was struggling, and I told my mom I want to stop. And she said, okay. But my French teacher said, just continue one more year and I'm sure that it will get better. So I did. I continued another year and it did get better. There were some moments where, it was like an aha, I get it now. But it wasn't until my first year at university continuing French that I really was like, okay, now I feel confident in learning this language because it is so difficult. And it's so different. Masculine and feminine, we don't have it.
Yeah.
And the conjugations for every pronoun are really hard too. And since you don't pronounce a lot of the letters, spelling was a challenge as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what tips would you give someone who's learning French?
Continue, and you have to be motivated to learn this language. And if you're not motivated and ready to put in the time or the effort, you will not learn it. And someone who's not like, I don't love to study, but I was passionate enough to love the language that I would listen to music, I would watch films, I would translate lyrics to songs, or I loved being around French speakers because I just loved the language, but it takes time and effort.
Then I asked her what techniques worked best for her when it came to learning French.
Definitely being immersed. Not having the choice to switch to English or not having the choice to be in my comfort zone, and the immersion and that uncomfortableness really pushes you to learn the language and perfect the language and actually be able to communicate.
It's like sink or swim, kind of.
Okay. It is. And it can be scary, of course, because if people don't understand you or you don't understand somebody, you feel a bit lost. But I think that was the thing that helped me the most, was being immersed. And I remember living with a host family and they didn't speak English. And that was when I really progressed the most, is the immersion and hearing it all day, every day, and not having the option to kind of escape and go back into your mother tongue. So yeah, I would say immersion for me at least was the best.
Because all of us are programmed to just do whatever's easiest, I think.
Yeah.
And so if there's a way out, then something easier, then I think we just revert to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's so crazy too. Sometimes I think about the fact that we have all this technology now. And if you wanted to create like a French bubble for yourself, or I feel like I've created kind of like an English bubble for my family and within my home, in a French speaking environment, larger French speaking environment, it's kind of possible to do it these days.
Yeah.
Thanks to the technology.
Yeah. Is that a good thing? I don't know. But yeah, I think
there's someone who wanted to learn French and they were living in the States, for example, they couldn't watch TV in French. They could watch movies in French, read in French, listen to the radio in French.
Totally.
They could kind of create that environment for themselves.
Yeah. One of the best pieces of advice that I had from a French teacher was, in the States, you're not going to be communicating a lot with other French speakers. So you kind of have to talk to yourself. And so I would be taking a shower and talk to myself about what I did that day. Narrating and just getting it out there and speaking. And even if I was making mistakes, I didn't know, but it was just getting myself comfortable speaking in the language that eventually you can communicate, you can say what you want to say just by talking to yourself.
Okay. All right. And you're always with yourself, so that's practical.
Or maybe you're driving in the car and you want to talk in French. Just do it.
Then I asked her to talk more about the Children's Language Learning Center that she's worked at now for many years.
So I work at a language center for kids from 3 to 14 years old. They come after school. It's called Kids After School. And they come either after school or during school vacations or summer. So basically, anytime kids are not in school, we are open.
Okay.
And we don't only teach English, but Spanish as well. So all the kids learn both languages. And we have like our Spanish team and our English team. And
so how does it work if I wanted to sign my 5-year-old up, for example?
Well, it's basically what you want, and we adapt. But you need a minimum of 2 hours a week, a minimum of one day or one evening after school. And if you can't do it during the school year, you can also only sign your kids up during the vacation time. So if you want to sign them up for 1 week, you can do that. If you want to sign them up just for a Monday night all year round, you can do that.
So if they come for 1 week, for example, it's an intensive week all in English?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, and Spanish.
Huh.
So
How does that work?
yeah. So if you do a week during vacation, you'll have 1 day English, 1 day Spanish, 1 day English, 1 day Spanish, 1 day English. So they alternate days. And if you come on just a Monday night, let's just say during the school year, after school, you would have 1 week English, the next week Spanish, 1 week English, the next week Spanish. So we always alternate.
Can you talk about the results that the kids have had?
Yeah.
Coming to Kids After School for years or?
Yeah, well, that's the goal, is that they do come for years, because 2 hours a week isn't a ton if you come 1 night a week. However, if you come 1 night a week plus during school vacations, plus summer, you'll be getting in a lot of hours. And we always say that the first year, no matter how much you come to the center or don't, but that first year is a discovery year. So they're discovering the languages, they're discovering the sounds, they're discovering the cultures. And you're not going to necessarily get the results in the language that first year. The second year, we always say, is the comprehension year. They're going to start understanding what you're saying to them. They're going to understand the way you speak, the sounds, what you're saying. So then that's really good, because they recognize the languages. They recognize who to speak to in Spanish. They recognize who to speak to in English. Again, the second year might not necessarily be producing the language yet. However, we always say that the third year, and if you're consistent, that third year is when they produce. So they'll get a discovery year, a comprehension year, and then they'll start producing the language themselves. Even though we have them repeat from the beginning, they're repeating words, they're repeating songs, they're repeating things over and over. They might not necessarily know what they're repeating yet, and it does take time, and they'll then, that third year, produce the language and know what they're saying and do it on their own.
And depending on when they start, is it like the earlier the better? Like, do they get faster results if they start at a younger age?
I would say the majority, yes.
Okay.
There are special cases where the child starts later and they still have the same results, but you have to be consistent, and it has to be, for me, a minimum of 3 years if you want your child to produce the language on his own. It doesn't happen overnight, and there are other cases where the child might need even more time, because maybe that first year they didn't want to be there, and they didn't want to listen, and they didn't want to participate, so they kind of lost a year. Or some are fast learners, and after 1 year they can produce the language. There's always the exceptions, but I would say that the majority of the children need at least a good 3 years before they're going to produce the language on their own. And it also just depends on how much they're immersed to the languages.
So are you saying that kids who have even more exposure at home, for example, you'll see faster results at the center as well?
Yeah, kids who travel,
Okay.
kids who have maybe already a different language at home, kids that their parents have them listen to songs in English or Spanish or movies or TV. Of course, that's also going to help accelerate the process. But yeah.
Do the kids generally get the same results in both English and in Spanish?
I don't know really the results in Spanish, because I don't speak the language and I don't know their level very well. I'm
what your colleagues say.
Yeah, I think Spanish is easier in the beginning for them because they're Latin-based languages. However, English seems to be the language that they hear more in general in the world, and that things are already more in English surrounding them, that it tends to maybe take over more the Spanish after. But I think in the beginning that they understand quickly Spanish and they can produce it faster.
Okay.
But I would say the results are probably quite similar.
Okay. I would like to know more about the techniques that you use at Kids After School, because for the little kids, I'm assuming you don't have like a chalkboard and you're not teaching them grammar rules.
No.
So how do they learn the language?
Immersion, first of all. So we know that we are not a school, and we know that we are not there to teach them grammar. What is really cool about Kids After School is it's pretty much the same way that I would teach my own children how to learn a language. They arrive at the center, They have their little snack. We talk about their day. They take off their shoes. They go to the toilet. It's everyday tasks that they're learning how to say these things, or it's repetitive. Our activities are play-based and not book-based. We have so many options on how to learn a language in the immersion of games or songs or dance or crafts that I'm constantly speaking the language as I would constantly speak to my own child in the language. And it's there's not a structure on, I'm using this tense to talk to you. I'm using this tense. Here are some words if you want to talk in the past. They don't even know what grammar is at that age. And we use a lot of hand gestures or facial expressions, and we have a lot of images. We have flashcards. And that is the way that they learn the best is, well, immersion, not hearing the French. And they can also be motivated by other students that maybe have been there longer, and they can see that, oh, he understands this language, I want to understand it too, or he knows what she said, how can I know what she said too? So there's also the peers around them that help each other, actually.
Then I asked Celeste if she had had any issues with French bureaucracy, and she had 2 stories to tell me about big obstacles that she's had to overcome.
I mean, I don't love the paperwork here ever, or anywhere, but the first couple years, I think it went pretty smoothly. But I did have a lot of help in those first few years with being a teaching assistant and having pretty much all the paperwork was kind of done by somebody else for us. And after that, it became a bit more difficult because I don't know if I really understood all the things that you need for your visa. And when I was getting married, we had one problem with the 10-year visa, so the titre de séjour. And my folder or all the file that I had to submit, it got denied. So we had to go to the préfecture, which is a place for all bureaucracy matters. They said that I needed to have a certain level of French. They wouldn't give me any answers. The answers that the answers I was finding online were not the same as what they were telling me, and what the person was telling me wasn't the same thing as what another person would tell me. So I ended up not really knowing what I really need to do and what the steps were. And even when I asked, can you tell me where I can find how can I take an A2 test? Where do I need to look? And she looked at me and she said, I can't tell you that. And I said, well, how am I supposed to do it then if you won't tell me? And she said, we're not authorized to tell you that.
And you're a certified French teacher in the US.
Yes.
You said you had already had a meeting at the OFI.
Yes,
they had evaluated your French level,
right,
and said that you were exempt from French classes.
Yes,
because your French level was good enough.
Yeah.
So you already have these outside sort of certifications in a sense, but not the actual paper that they were looking for.
Exactly.
Okay.
And my French certificate to be a French teacher in the States was not recognized in France.
Okay.
So either
it didn't give your European
reference
level?
Exactly.
Okay.
It was based on an American system, I guess. I had to take the test, and I should have just taken a higher test at the time, but I was fed up with what I had to do. And even taking the A2 test, the interviewer for the speaking part asked me why I was even there. And I explained to her in French why I had to be here, and she thought it was ridiculous. And she thought, you clearly have a much superior level than A2. And so I don't love paperwork in France, let's just say. But for now, I have my visa, everything is fine, and in 4 years I'll apply for my nationality, my citizenship.
Okay, and then you'll have another whole set
of
hoops that you have to jump through and everything.
But it will all work out. It always works out.
I did it, and it wasn't. I mean, it was a lot of steps. It took a long time, and you had to be very meticulous. But as long as you were sort of checking off the boxes, everything worked out in the end, and it didn't seem that hard to me. Yeah, it was kind of complicated, but it wasn't I never ran into those problems where one person would tell me one thing and then I would get like a mixed message in it or something, a different message from someone else. I don't remember that happening anyway.
Then you're lucky.
Yeah, I think it's just really lucky.
I think the majority of people do struggle with
The stars aligned. I had all the documents that every single person wanted. Yeah, something like that. I don't know.
No, I think it just takes time, and sometimes it depends on the person that get your file.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna cross my fingers, but I know that it will happen. It just might not happen as smoothly as I want.
You're probably gonna have to take another language test.
Yeah, but that's okay.
I did it. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have your carte de séjour. You're here.
Yes.
You're living with your husband. You're married. You're living in a village.
Yes.
So how are you getting to and from work?
I'm driving.
Using your American license?
Nope. Oh no, that's been long gone for a while now. No, I had to. So you have an option with some of the states in the U.S. to exchange your driver's license. Ohio was one of those states that I could exchange.
But wait, lucky.
Oh yes. So I thought you have 1 year to exchange your license when you arrive. It was when I came back to France after living in Belgium.
Okay.
And
at that point, you guys were planning on getting married.
Yeah.
Had an idea.
Yeah. I had a visa for 1 year, being a second time teaching assistant.
Okay.
And when that was up, I didn't.
Gonna stay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So that was kind of when we decided, okay, let's get married so that, well, we don't have to deal with this anymore.
Yeah.
And
is that when you thought, okay, what's the situation with my driver's license?
I knew that I had to do it within a year.
Okay.
So I did all the paperwork, sent it in, waited. It came back and said denied. And I thought, oh, great. And they said you didn't do the paperwork within the year. And I said, well, I did. And I said I dropped the envelope off at the prefecture. And apparently the person who got my envelope didn't get it until months later.
Oh no.
And so they had no proof. There was no stamp in the mail because I went and I dropped it off by hand or in person. And they said that I didn't do it within the year.
Oh.
And I did it maybe in November or December, but I thought like it's in the year, like that counts.
Okay.
But the person whoever got it didn't get it in front of their desk, let's say, until after that year.
Okay.
So I even went and I tried to explain that, and that didn't matter. They had no proof that it was there before the deadline, let's say.
They had your Ohio driver's license in their possession because you had dropped it off and it surfaced at some point.
I don't think you had to drop the actual thing off. You had to have a photocopy.
Okay.
And when you get your French one, then you give
your American one.
I think so. I never got to that point, so I don't know.
Neither did I. There was no reciprocity with the state that I got my driver's license in, so I had to just do my driver's.
Well, I had to do it too.
Okay.
So I signed up at driver's ed, and I was really, really not happy that I had to do this because I had been driving since I was 16 in the States.
Yep.
And I even complained. I said, I'm not doing the 20 hours.
Yep.
I know how to drive. I'll prove it to you right now. And so I remember they said, okay, we'll reduce it to 10 hours. And I thought, I don't even need to do 10 hours. So when I got in the car to start the driving lessons, they clearly were like, yeah, okay, you know how to drive, but we still need to practice.
You learned that you've picked up bad habits. That's told me anyway.
Exactly.
You've picked up bad habits from your experience driving, and we need to correct those before you go for your actual driver's test.
Exactly. So basically, I had to learn like choreography.
Yes.
You're not allowed to put your turn signal on unless you've checked your rear view mirror. You've checked here. You've checked all the sides. Then you can put it on. So it really was like a choreography that I feel like I had to learn, not necessarily how to drive.
Yeah.
And all in all, I'm kind of glad I did it because I learned a lot of vocabulary in French about the car.
Yeah.
Not that I use it, but it was kind of,
le code de la route.
yes. And that was something that I didn't really know.
It's kind of funny that they actually let us drive for 1 year anyway, when there are some rules that are quite different. Yeah.
Yeah. So it was fine. I did 10 hours. I passed. I got almost a perfect score.
Oh, congratulations.
I was like, you see, France, I know how to drive.
Okay.
Both Celeste and I are married to Frenchmen, so we talked about that a little bit as well.
I think there are a lot of similarities. French men, in my opinion, maybe are a bit more romantic, just a tidbit. They're closer to their families, maybe. I can't really compare that much with American families because I only have the example of like my parents or people in my family. But it only really comes out maybe in home life and routines and things. My husband is strict on electricity or so leaving a light on, for example.
Electricity consumption.
Electricity
My
consumption
husband too.
and water consumption
My husband too.
and wastefulness.
I see a wood stove. We also have a wood stove.
Yes, I mean, we have radiators, we have heated floors, but again, the mentality is I don't want to use that if I don't have to. And sometimes I'm freezing and I'll say, can we just put on the heat? No, because tomorrow it's going to be nice. I'm not going to put it on for one day. Oh my gosh. Okay. And so I wouldn't say that like in the actual couple, there's like huge differences on how he acts versus an American man. It's just more in like everyday or household ways.
Okay.
He turns off the water when he's taking a shower to soap up, turns it back on to rinse off. I get yelled at if I keep it on too long. And so I would say, yeah, consumption, whether it's water or electricity or food or like he does not waste. He hates to waste anything.
Has that rubbed off on you?
It has now, but it's taken time.
Yeah.
It's taken a long time. And now, and he always says, it's not Versailles here.
Yes.
When I leave a light.
Classic. If you were to walk in, what would he say right now? We have all the lights turned off.
Oh, I know. The first thing you said when we had to turn the lights on is, oh no, what's he going to say? But he's not here, so we don't care.
It's all LEDs.
That's fine. But yeah, I would say that is one big difference with like wastefulness or consumption. And I think, at least in my case, my husband is very, yeah, he's a busy bee. He has, we call maniaque in French, as you know, which is like someone who is a clean freak.
Yeah, clean freak, yeah.
And always has to be doing something around the house or outside or working on something.
That might just be his personality.
It might be his personality, right? So as I said, I don't have that much hair too. Exactly. But yeah, I think he has more of the romantic side as a French man and closer to his like family maybe than the majority of American men. I know American men are close to their families too, but
yeah, even the just geographical proximity, like your in-laws live a little bit further away than I do, but I see my in-laws maybe not on a weekly basis, but almost
monthly at least for you. Yeah,
for sure. I mean,
a lot of
10 minutes away, so you see them all the time.
Yeah, I think
your kids are at your in-laws right now.
Yes, they are for the week.
And I asked her about making friends here in France.
Yeah, I think it depends on your personality and your openness as well and putting yourself out there. Of course, if you stay at home and you don't go out, it will be hard to make friends, but that's not just here. That's anywhere. So getting involved in activities, people at work, making connections that can further your connections. I've always met people. I've never really met anybody just randomly at a bar or randomly at some outing at a park. You know, that doesn't happen. It's like I have to get involved in some sort of activity. Yeah. So here, when we moved to our house, it was nice because, well, we didn't know it at the time, but during COVID, obviously we were here. We couldn't go anywhere. And we would see people in the street and we saw people our age. And so we would start wondering who they are. And I had never seen them before, even though we had lived here for maybe 6 months. And I didn't even know who my neighbors were really. But during COVID, we did meet 2 of our neighbors, well, 2 families, and ended up becoming really good friends with them. And I don't think that would have happened if we weren't always here in the neighborhood because of our work schedules. You go to work, you come home, you eat dinner, and you on repeat. And so it had to be an active effort if I wanted to meet the neighbors without COVID, and I don't know how long that would have taken. Other than that, our other friend groups are, well, colleagues that I've had, and friend groups that I've had that were friends with that friend group that you met people through other
Friends of
people.
friends.
Yeah, friends of friends.
Yeah.
And Nico and I are both very open people, so I'm not shy, or I'm not gonna not talk to somebody that I don't know. I don't mind talking to someone that I don't know.
Celeste has twins and another baby on the way, and I have 2 kids who are born and who are being raised here in France. So I thought it would be fun to talk about pregnancy and parenting here in France with her as well. Celeste talked about the techniques that she's used to get her twins to sleep through the night, to eat a varied diet, her thoughts on snacking, and on delayed gratification in general. And we compared our parenting techniques to the French techniques that are discussed here in the book, Bringing Up Bébé.
I have twins.
They're little.
Yes, they'll be 2 in October.
And you have another one on the way.
I do. For December. Thank you.
It's very exciting. I know you haven't had a chance to read this book, Bringing Up Bébé.
No.
It's about an American woman raising her kids, one singleton and one set of twins in Paris.
Okay.
Her husband is not French, but it's so funny. And maybe you'll have a chance to read it at some point and we can get back together. We can have a more in-depth discussion about it. But there were a few things that I picked out from the book that I wanted to ask you about your opinion on about parenting in France. But before we get, I just read this book and I just reviewed this book on my channel as well, The Bonjour Effect. Have you read this? So good as well. But there's one passage in this book that I wanted to read to you and get your reaction on.
Okay.
And just hear what you thought. So they say the French government has put in place many measures to encourage women to stay in the job market after they have kids. So there is a nifty combination of traditional values and progressive government measures that together make France a working mother's paradise. I would like to get your opinion on that quote.
I don't think saying a mother's paradise is the way to describe it.
It's going too far.
It's going too far.
Yeah, in the margin I wrote, that's going too far.
That's going too far. But I will say it's definitely better than a working American woman.
Yeah.
The measures put in France to be able to have a baby and continue working are great. We have a lot of help from the government.
Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Like your maternity leave?
Yeah.
What it giving birth? All those things.
I'm not going to tell you what it's like giving birth, but the first thing I noticed was you have a lot of, well, at least for twins, I was monitored very regularly during my whole pregnancy.
Risk pregnancy?
Yes.
Okay.
And so every month I would go to see, I would have a checkup. And I think maybe at the 4th month, all medical expenses are 100% covered by your Social Security or your mutuelle. And before that, it's not like you have no help. It's maybe
you out of pocket, but they reimburse.
Right, but maybe not 100%.
Okay.
So in the first couple months, I think
there maybe were some out of pocket.
Yes, but nothing too bad. But at a certain point, you get 100% reimbursed for everything. Then I noticed that you have help when it comes to educating yourself or your couple about what's going on, or you're taking all the prenatal classes. Yeah.
Did you go to those?
Yeah, we did. And they were great. They prepare you very well. Every class is a different theme. So the first one might be where do you go and how do you prepare?
Exercises.
I do remember like how to give a bath, breastfeeding, and then the actual birthing.
Yeah.
What you need to do and how it's going to work. So I remember taking notes and that was fun. But I thought that before giving birth, there was a lot of help in the sense of like preparation. Maybe it's the same in the States, I don't know, but I felt really comfortable after all the prep that they helped us with.
And how much did you pay for that?
Nothing. And then at the hospital itself, I was induced because at 37 weeks, that is pretty much the term for twin.
Protocol.
Yeah.
Twins.
And at the hospital, everyone was great. The help there
at the hospital?
A week, which I thought was nice because we were scared. We were like, oh no, these are 2 new babies. What do we do? And after 6 days, though, I thought, okay, surely I get to go home. I wanted to go home. I was ready. And they had said, okay, maybe today is the day. And so I packed up all my stuff and I thought I'm leaving today. And they came in and they said, no, one of the babies, she didn't gain enough weight and you had to stay another night. And I broke down like, why are you keeping me here? I just want to go home. But they are really strict about making sure the baby is at a correct weight and is gaining weight before they release you.
And then you came home.
And then we came home, yes. And we had a midwife as well come every day for maybe the first week or two. And they would ask how everything's going. They would ask about their eating schedule, their sleeping schedule. They would weigh the babies. They would ask if I had any questions. And really just make sure that everything was going okay for me, which was nice. And then they came once a week for a couple months after that to continue to monitor.
Wow.
And all that was free.
So you were on bed rest for 2 months at the end of your
1 month at the end.
Okay, so obviously you had stopped working at that point.
Oh, yeah. Huh. They stopped me even before my maternity leave started.
Technically had started, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The gynecologist had said, like, we don't want you driving anymore. Even though you might still physically be okay, at one point you're going to be overworking yourself and it'll be too late then to put you on arrêt maladie or sick leave. And so I think at like the 4th or the 5th month I was already put on
Stop working.
I stopped working.
Okay.
Yeah.
And after the babies were born, how long was your maternity leave?
8 months.
And during that time you were getting paid?
Yes, of course.
Your full pay?
No.
Okay.
I think you get, I want to say 80 or 90% of your full pay.
And so because you had twins, you basically had like 2 back-to-back maternity leaves? Is that
a little more?
Okay, wow, okay. Bonus for the 2 at once?
Yes.
Okay, and then for the 3rd baby, you're going to have your maternity leave is also going to be a bit longer?
6 months.
Okay. Because it's the
3rd.
The 3rd.
Yes. And Nico will get a month.
And he had a month off for the girls as well?
I think with one baby you have maybe 30 days and with the twins it was like 35. It's not a big difference for men.
They get double it.
No, they didn't double it. But he still had a good chunk, and with all his vacation time as well with his work, he'll be able to take off probably a month and a half
for this one. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
great. So the first thing I want to talk about was sleep.
Yes.
You had twins?
Yes.
When did they start sleeping through the night?
They started sleeping through the night at 2.5 months.
Okay. How did you do that? Was it something that's magically French that that to happen? How did you get them to sleep through the night?
So
this woman, she has her theories, and I'll read them to you after. But
okay,
well, tell us how you did it.
Okay. My friend Elena introduced me to this woman that sleep trains, and her website is called Taking Care of Babies. I'm sure people know about this. And
she's an American woman?
Yes, I believe so. And
so not specifically French.
Oh, no. It's a way to, one, like comfort the baby. So the first thing that really helped that we did was we swaddled the girls. So they were wrapped up real tight, like little burritos, I would call them. And this prevents them from having that like baby, I don't know what it's called, but they jolt.
Those reflexes.
The reflexes, yes. And so that wakes babies up in the middle of the night. So the first thing you want to do is keep their arms down and wrapped so that when they do that, it doesn't wake them up.
Okay.
After that, she uses a white noise machine. Now, I was not convinced about this in the beginning. I thought there's no way that you need to put a white noise machine on for a baby. No one has done this before. I didn't use one. My parents didn't use one on any of us, yada, yada, yada. However, after about 2 weeks to 3 weeks of not using it, there were some nights that were really difficult. And
used it first?
No, we didn't use it. I didn't want to use it at first. I thought, I don't need to use this. And
but you had one.
We did. They were built into our cameras.
Oh.
So it was always an option, but I thought I don't need it. And there started to be some hard nights, and Chloe, for example, was just not going to sleep, and we were holding her, we were shushing her, we were trying everything. And of course, at that point, when you are sleep deprived and just exhausted and desperate, you will try anything, and everyone knows that. And so I told Nico, I said, let's just try this. Like, I don't want to, I didn't think I needed to, but I'm at my last resort now. So we turned on the white noise, and within 15 seconds, I'm not even joking, she stopped crying. And we looked at each other like, what the heck is this magical machine? And after that, I was convinced, because what I had learned or what I had read, but I didn't think was necessary, was that white noise creates the exact sound that they hear in the womb when they're
Amniotic fluid.
well, anything, the heartbeat of the mother,
Okay.
the exterior noise, all the organs that are working in there. It's not quiet. It's really, really noisy. And it's like a constant noise, which is why the constant white noise puts them back into that safe space and they feel comfortable. They're not scared. It really was for me the fact that they were swaddled, that they didn't wake up, and that cocoon also kind of reminds them of that safe space when they were forming. The white noise, that constant noise that they're hearing, also puts them back into the womb. And the last thing that she recommends is having all black, no light.
Okay, I see.
So dark.
Complete dark.
Complete darkness.
Okay.
At least at night.
Okay.
Because during the day, you want them to associate when is daytime and when is nighttime.
Yeah, it's interesting because what you're describing sort of sounds like what's in the book. So I'd like to read it to you and get your reaction to it, okay?
Yes.
All right. So she calls it the pause. This idea of like going in and checking on your baby, and if the baby is really fussy, then you don't necessarily go in and pick up the baby. You just kind of observe and you check and you make sure that everything is okay. But you give it some time before you actually go in and try to like intervene.
Yeah.
And she describes it this way. When French parents pause, they do it consistently and confidently. They're making informed decisions based on their understandings of how babies sleep. Oh, because she has just mentioned as well that often French parents have this like knowledge, scientific knowledge even of different like sleep cycles and things like that. Behind this is an important philosophical difference. French parents believe it's their job to gently teach babies how to sleep well, the same way they'll later teach them how to have good hygiene, eat balanced meals, and ride a bike. They don't view being up half the night with an 8-month-old as a sign of parental commitment. They view it as a sign that the child has a sleep problem and that his family is wildly out of balance. And then she also mentions the French treat the pause as sleep solution number 1.
Yeah, I agree with this 100%. And it is kind of the technique that we did use. So when you put your baby to sleep, if it fusses, well, how do you know that something is wrong if you just go and pick it up right away? If you've already checked that its diaper is clean, if you already know that it is well fed, if you already know that the temperature in the room is fine.
The baby doesn't have a fever.
Right. Then what is the problem? So it could be just active sleep, which is just the baby that is moving or talking or
acts. Yeah, she uses the French term. I think it's sommeil paradoxal.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
And that's nothing to worry about. So there's no need to go in and pick up your child or console your child. It's literally still sleeping, but in an active sort of sleep. So the pause is great because you wait maybe 5 minutes, you leave the room, you can go in after 5 minutes, comfort it again if something's wrong, leave 10 minutes, and that's the taking care of babies technique as well. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And normally it goes back to sleep after that time.
Not necessarily a French concept.
Maybe it is, and maybe taking care of babies also did a lot of research around the world to find what worked best.
Okay.
And I do see that.
But is probably 15 years old or so.
Oh, so then it's so then this is obviously knowledge that the French knew probably before America.
2012. Yeah, this came out after my first son was born. I remember reading it and reading it after his babyhood. And getting some laughs out of it. It's pretty funny.
Well, I know my French mother-in-law, she does not go in right away.
Yeah, okay.
And she will, and I'm sure she used that technique.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Does not panic when the baby is crying.
Okay.
Or gives it some time at least.
Okay. The next thing I want to talk about was food. So what do your kids eat, Celeste? Your how old were they exactly? 20 months?
21 months.
21-month-old kids.
Yeah.
What do they eat?
Pretty much everything.
How did you make that happen? What techniques have you used? There's techniques that are mentioned in the book. Do you want me to read them?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. It's really funny. In fact, the author talks about like a government pamphlet or government
I did get one from my pediatrician.
That's funny. Okay, so she mentions it here. So I'll read to you from the government handbook.
For a well-balanced for like healthy lifestyle, well-balanced meals. So I got a list of what the kid or the child, the baby, should be eating at what stages.
Part of the candid de santé, I think it mentions that in that as well.
Oh, it is. You're right. It is in our candid de santé, but I got a pamphlet.
Explain what a candid de santé is.
It's just their medical like their medical book, basically. It keeps track of maybe 0 to 3 months, 3 to 6 months. It has their weight, their all the vaccines that they get. And it has
like tips and tricks for parents.
Yes. Every person gets a carnet de santé.
Yeah, every kid gets one.
Like a health booklet.
Yeah, that follows you throughout your entire childhood.
Yes.
Okay. Let's see. So, where should I start? There's so many funny passages in here about this. All right. I'll just read a few passages and then get your take.
Okay.
In France, the same advice to keep reproposing foods to babies is elevated to a mission. Parents take for granted that while kids will prefer certain tastes over others, the flavor of each vegetable is inherently rich and interesting. Parents see it as their job to bring the child around to appreciating this. They believe that just as they would teach their child how to sleep, how to wait, and how to say bonjour, they must teach her how to eat.
Yes.
You agree?
I agree.
Okay. The government food guide tells parents to offer the same ingredients prepared in many different ways. Quote, try steaming, baking, in parchment, grilled, plain, and with sauce or seasoned. The handbook's authors say your child will discover different colors, different textures, and different aromas.
Yes.
Have you done this? Have you tried this with your kids?
I have done different techniques on how the food is prepared, yes. And I found that just because they don't like it one day doesn't mean the next week they won't like it. So I've always kept in mind that, okay, she doesn't like it today. That's fine. And maybe she doesn't like it tomorrow. Maybe for a whole week she refuses bananas, let's just say. I stop the bananas, give it a break. Next month I try again and she eats it.
Okay.
So it's not because they don't like it necessarily that you shouldn't repropose the foods.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's not definitive.
No.
Try it once, it doesn't.
Of course not.
Okay.
But it might be a few times they don't want it.
Yeah.
But again, just because they don't want it doesn't mean that you can't repropose it.
Okay. Next, all the French baby books I read urge parents to stay calm and cheerful at mealtimes and above all, to stay the course, even if their child doesn't take a single bite. Quote, don't force him, but don't give up on proposing it to him, quote, unquote, the government handbook explains, quote, little by little, he'll get more familiar with it, he'll taste it, and without a doubt, he'll end up appreciating it.
Yeah, I think that's true too. Mealtime can take a while. And in France, I think people are used to mealtime taking maybe a half an hour or more than a half an hour
as well. They say that in fact, the pediatricians say that it shouldn't take longer than a half an hour, 30 minutes for little kids, but that French kids like build up to being able to stay at the table for longer periods of time.
And they might not eat with I just agree with that 100%.
Okay, here's another quote. She says, lesson number 1 is that there's no such thing as kids' food. And I see what she means in the sense, but then I also think about some of the things I see in the supermarket, like, you know, those little applesauce pouches and little individually wrapped cheeses, and even like nuggets.
Or like,
that exist in France. It's not like it doesn't exist. But I think it's true that most of the time, you eat with their parents.
Yes, most of the time you feed your baby what you're eating.
Yeah. And you do that? You're doing that?
Yeah, we do that now. We don't really adapt to, okay, they have a certain meal and we eat something else.
I've never done that with my kids.
Yeah.
I mean, I think at a certain stage, I mean, going from baby food to like normal food, there's that.
Yeah.
But then I've never prepared like a special dinner for my kids. They always just ate whatever we were eating. A smaller portion, obviously, but they always just ate the same thing.
We're not a restaurant. They don't get options. I mean, we all eat the same thing. And sometimes they'll get something a little different. If I'm eating, I don't know, smoked salmon or a special dish for us, sometimes I'll make a little hot dog and I'll give it to them. But typically what they're doing now is they eat their food, and then when we sit down at the table to eat, they also want all of our food again.
Okay,
So they're eating like 2 meals.
You're getting to the point where you guys are just going to be starting to have like one meal all together, maybe. But it's probably, is it because you guys eat a little bit later?
Yes, that's the only reason.
Trying to get them into bed or a bit earlier. I mean, my kids are older, so we just all eat together.
Yeah, well, eventually we'll get there, but for right now, they go to bed between 8 and 8:30. And so by the time I get home from work, or we clean up everything or make something, typically they eat before us around 7:30, and then they go to bed an hour after that. So it's a little too early for us to eat at 7:30, especially when I get home at that time most nights. So
Okay. The next thing, and same idea, same vein, was I want to talk about snack time, or the goûter. So in the book, they talk a lot about the goûter. In France, the goûter is the official and only snack time. We'll talk more about this, how one mother in particular says that she thinks that the structure of snack time has actually helped to teach her kids patience, but we'll come back to that. What do you think about this? Is that true? Do your kids snack?
No. No, they have breakfast, then they have lunch, then they have the goûter, which is the snack of the day, and then they have dinner.
Okay. So this comes up again and again in the book, this idea of like teaching kids delayed gratification and patience, and the acceptance of when their parents say no, based on all of these things, based on like it kind of enforcing this one snack policy, in a sense, and like the pause with sleeping, and that all of these things kind of help to develop this ability to delay gratification for kids in France. And there's a section in the book I can read to you about this and get your opinion as well.
Well, already I agree with all of
that. Okay. Could it be that making children delay gratification, as middle-class French parents do, actually makes them calmer and more resilient, whereas middle-class American kids, who are in general more used to getting what they want right away, go to pieces under stress? Are French parents, once again, doing by tradition and instinct exactly what scientists, and they mention this, child psychologists, recommend? On the next page, having kids who can wait makes family life more pleasant. So then she goes into explaining why being able to tell your kid, wait, and getting them to wait patiently for their snack or for your attention or for whatever, it just sort of makes family life more manageable for everybody involved.
I can't say that I have enough experience or that they're old enough yet to see maybe some of these results, but it is what we're trying to put in place for sure.
And is it something that you've consciously thought through in a sense?
No, I don't think I've consciously thought through it. It's just that the advice or what I see around me is that.
Are you mirroring what you've seen? Are you mirroring what your friends and in-laws have done, for example?
I think it's a mixture of both. I think
your husband is also just instinctively doing these things?
He really is. Okay. He probably has this instinct more so than I do. However, working with children at the center, I know their routine as well, and I kind of follow that, but I'm not consciously doing it maybe. And I notice it when we go to the States and the schedule is different. And maybe my parents don't understand why we're doing a goûter or a snack. And maybe they would give snacks throughout the day instead of just one. And I do have to say, and they respect it, but maybe they don't understand it yet because it's in the French culture more so than in the American culture. But we eat breakfast, you eat lunch, you have the goûter, and you have your dinner. There is,
down at the table.
Yes, always. And I think it really does help with patience or family life or behavior. Do you agree with it?
I think that I never thought of it this way in particular, but these are, again, I think I just mimicked what I saw happen around me. I don't think I was very thoughtful about how I was raising my kids. I think you've given a lot more thought than I ever did. But again, I was just kind of following the examples of the people I had around me. And I didn't do a lot of research before my kids were born. I didn't do a lot of research after they were born. I did read this book when Louis was about 2, and I thought it was funny because it did sort of
match what you were doing.
It rang true to what I had seen. And my kids, I always just thought my kids, oh, they're just easy. Like they slept through the night at a relatively young age. They'll eat pretty much anything. And
Do you think it was also Cedric's influence?
yeah, I mean, I think I was just following his lead.
Yeah. Because, and what you saw.
Yeah, and what was happening around me,
Yeah.
And then when I go to the States now and I see how just sort of snack food is just sort of omnipresent,
Too much.
I worry about it. I'm like, but they're not going to be hungry. But but it will, I don't know. I worry about. I don't know why I worry about it, but I think, okay, no, that's you have to be thoughtful about what you're eating and sit down, take the time to eat and everything. And
That's French though.
yeah, I think it is, and I think it's rubbed off on me again to the point where now it just seems normal to me. And so it's funny to go back to the States and then to contrast with what kind of like how we operate here now.
Yeah.
So Celeste, I would love it if you would read your book, maybe during your next maternity leave. Read the book.
Okay. Well, I'll have the time.
Yeah, well, you may not. I'm going to order a copy for you. I'll get you a copy. The best. And then you can read through it, and maybe we can come back and have another longer discussion about this, because I think it's fascinating. And I love talking about these things too. You're in it right now,
I'm in the thick of it.
You're in the thick of it. And I'm sort of, again, my memories are getting fuzzy. Things just seem normal to me, and I don't have the same perspective. So I would love to come back and have another chat with you at some point.
Well,
Your baby number 3 is born, and you've had a chance to read the book. Okay.
As I was editing this video, I realized there were so many other topics that I had planned on discussing with Celeste that we just didn't have time to cover. I really wanted to ask her more questions about her own kids' language acquisition and the techniques that she's using at home. And I also wanted to talk to her more about sort of exposing her kids to American culture while, of course, raising them here in France. So I guess those are discussion topics that we'll have to cover in a part 2. And also, like I said, I would love to have her reaction on different parts of this book, Bringing Up Bébé, because it is so fascinating. I was also wondering if you've had a chance to read this book and what you thought about it. Let us know in the comments below if you have any questions or topics that you want us to go over or give our thoughts on for part 2 of this interview, which I hope we'll be able to do in the next few months, maybe during Celeste's upcoming maternity leave. On this channel, I talk a lot about Dijon, the city that I've lived in since 2008, and Celeste lived here as well for 5 years. So I wanted to get her thoughts on the city of Dijon and share them with you as well. I wanted to talk more about sort of the contrast of living in a village versus living in a city. First, I thought maybe you could talk about that. And then also, I talk a lot about Dijon on my channel.
Yes.
And the fact that I love living in Dijon and everything. And it was fun driving out here today. I was like, oh, I'm on an adventure out into the country. But you could compare because you lived in Dijon as well. So I was wondering if you could talk more about the experience of living in Dijon too.
So we lived in Dijon for 5 years, or I did. Nico was there a year before me when I was still in Belgium. So he was in the city 6 years. Obviously, we lived in the city with no kids. So I think that's also different. And I couldn't picture raising a family in an apartment. First of all, not all apartments have elevators. Ours did not. And we were on the 2nd floor or the 3rd floor. Whichever. We were on the 3rd floor. American floor. And I could not picture having a stroller or doing my groceries or even carrying the baby. At the time, I didn't know I would have twins. So that would have been virtually impossible to do. No. So we knew that we didn't want to raise a family in our apartment in Dijon. Now, we could have maybe looked for a house in Dijon, but since my husband comes from the countryside and he wants space and he loves, being out in the country, we decided to go a little bit further outside of Dijon, and just because we wanted a house to raise a family. So I loved personally living in Dijon. I think it's the perfect size. I think there's so much to do. The gastronomy is amazing. The restaurants, the shopping, the activities you can do. And my job is still in Dijon, so I go every day.
So you have to drive.
Yeah.
Okay.
I could take a train, but the hours don't really match up with my work schedule since I'm part-time.
Okay. And the other thing that I wanted to mention was the fact that you and Nico have a short-term rental unit right here as part of your house.
Yes.
It's so funny because I interviewed Carol, a friend of yours as well, a few weeks ago, and we visited her rental property that's part of their house as well.
All brand new, hers, isn't
Beautiful.
it? Yeah.
And, we have our short-term rentals behind our house as well. So it's kind of like something all of our people at our friend group are kind of doing.
Well, it's never something I thought about because Nico's parents have a gîte. They have a it's not an Airbnb. Well, it is now, but they've had it forever.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Just connected to their house
Yes,
as well?
yes. And so
Cool.
Nico had always been around his parents renting out a part of their house.
Okay.
And they also have property apartments around as well. So for him, it was very normal that you always have a second property to rent out.
Yeah, I mean, it's an amazing source of extra income.
Of course it is. I didn't grow up like that. I didn't realize people could do that or that people did that. So, of course, I wasn't opposed to it, but I didn't know really where to begin or how to do it. So when Nico and I were looking at houses, that was one of his criteria was, okay, where could we have an Airbnb or what could we rent out in the house or next to the house so that was always something he was looking at.
Really? I didn't realize that he had grown up with something similar on his property as well.
Yes.
That makes sense. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great.
So he's kind of been the backbone to everything with
He manages it.
He manages it.
Yeah.
I manage only the foreign people to come. So I'm the English source.
Okay.
And
do you have a lot of foreigners?
In the summertime, yes. We currently have German people in our Airbnb. We've had a lot of Dutch or Belgian or English. I think we've had
many Americans.
Maybe one or two before.
Maybe it's harder because you would need to have a car, wouldn't you, if you were staying here?
Of course, you have to get to our place by car.
How far away are we from Dijon?
To, for example, the Parc de la Colombière, which is south of Dijon, 15-20 minutes.
Okay. We're going to put a link in the video description below to your Airbnb, just part of your house. So if people are interested, they could come and they could stay here.
They could come and stay here. They could do some wine tastings in the area. They could go and see there's an abbey.
Very quick.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's like 10 minutes from our house. Okay. And
as I was driving around, I took some nice footage of a beautiful castle that's right here in the village as well.
Yes.
And there's the canal. Do people do bike riding along?
Tons of bike riding, walking, running. The canal is just behind our house. And
so people can check out the link in the video description below for your Airbnb.
We can put some photos as well.
Yeah, we will. Absolutely. And can they contact you or Nico directly as well? Do you guys accept direct bookings?
For sure. We accept direct bookings. We accept bookings on Airbnb. And we can also put Nico's telephone number in the description.
Okay. And people could contact him
via
WhatsApp.
Yeah. Or his email address as well.
Okay.
Okay. That would be great.
Good. So many people that watch my channel are people who I think are in the process of considering a move to France, maybe. A lot of the viewers of my channel are American, British, I think, many English-speaking people. And so I was wondering if you had any advice for people who are considering a move to France.
That is a good question. I can only say that my move to France was solely based on my passion for the country and the language. And
your husband.
Well, he wasn't the reason my move.
Right, me neither. That's what's
yeah.
That came later.
That came later, right? I would have tried to live here without him. Yeah. Okay. But I'm obviously happy I found him, and I wouldn't change a thing. But advice for moving to France is probably have patience and know that things will take time. Because
it's a French song.
Yes. Wait. French administration. Exactly. They're not the quickest. Just make sure that you're ready to take the time, and it's going to be a lot of hard work. And so that, and the fact that probably you're going to need to know a little bit of the language. Okay. Not necessarily very well, because you can always find contacts in English, but the French aren't known for their English skills.
Okay. Okay. It just makes life easier if you can speak some French.
It does. It makes life easier if you can speak some French and have patience when it comes to administration. And yeah, I think that would hopefully you want to come to France because you like it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
It was such a pleasure.
Same. Same for me.
And we'll be back for part 2 after you have had a chance to read Bringing Up
Bébé.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Susie.
So that's it for our conversation today. But like I said, I feel like Celeste and I have so much more to talk about when it comes to parenting here in France. So I hope we'll be able to continue our discussion, and I'll be able to share that with you in the coming months as well. If you would like to check out some other videos about books about life in France that I've discussed here on my channel, you can check out this playlist. Or for just more information about my life here in France, I have another playlist over here that you could check out as well. Thank you so much for watching today. And until the next time, à bientôt!